Rule of Law Radio on this Friday, the 30th day of November 2018, and we're talking to Scott in Michigan. And Scott, I'm hoping, do you know anybody in Michigan who's a good legal researcher?
A good legal researcher?
Yes.
I fancy myself to be an aspiring good legal researcher.
Well, what I'm doing is, did you hear the first part of the show?
Bits and pieces, yes.
Okay. I can, I'm building this product, this tool, and I can hire all the lawyers I need. We're in the process of petitioning for $1 million in seed funding and angel funding. And we have a very, very large project. I project a 5-year profit of $2.2 billion. This is a big project, and it's big because the United States is big. 325 million people, 1 million lawyers. You have to look at the whole world to understand how outrageous that is. There's about 250,000 lawyers in the rest of the world.
Wow.
And 1 million in the United States. That is absurd. But we got them.
Every 400 people?
Yeah. So they need a lot of work. And, the United States is by far the worst police state the world has ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
We contain approximately 3% of the world's population. We house approximately 50% of the world's population of inmates. This is the worst police state the world's ever seen, and for the most part, nobody knows. Seldom the majority of the population ever have anything to do with government. And we hear stories about how horrible these governments are with these horrible, mean dictators, but for the most part, the people have very little to do with this, with the government. I had a friend, she had been a captain in the KGB, and she said in a totalitarian government, the courts are far more fair and considerate of the people than they are here in the United States. Because the totalitarian government realizes you get the people upset at you and they will rise up and throw you out. They were very cognizant of that. And, she was KGB Russia, and she understood that. That was something sharp in her attention, that you got to take care of the public. You take care of the public, you can stay in power. Well, most of the people there never had anything to do with it, with the legal systems. And when they did, the government understood that you have to give people the impression that their government will protect them. Our government has lost that completely. And we want to fix it. And, when I started this some 10, 12 years ago, I started it because I read the penal code and the code of criminal procedure after spending the night in jail for driving with a headlight out. I disappear off the planet overnight. My family has no idea where I'm at. And I spend the night sleeping on a drunk tank floor because I had a filament in a headlight go out. That did not seem right. So when I got out the penal code and the code of criminal procedure. One other thing, when they send you in to change in the little jail outfit, they're spraying disinfectant all over. Turned out the guy in front of me in that room had full-blown AIDS. So I was exposed to that because a filament went out in a light bulb. So I get out. I got the penal code and the code of criminal procedure, and I read them. I looked at the practice, and I thought, have I stepped through the looking glass? How can the practice be so dramatically different than the code? And I'm an engineer, and that was a conundrum because when I read statutes, I feel like I'm reading a tech manual. I read it as a tech manual. This is a specification, but they weren't following the specification. What's the deal? And it took 15 years to figure out that when I read the code the first time, I didn't miss anything. The code said exactly what it said. And they were, in fact, doing it wrong. I sat down with a justice of the peace who was a personal friend of mine. And I respected him highly. It was my opinion that Mark Autry would do what he thought was right if it hurled up the Pope. But then that wouldn't have bothered him too much because he's a Baptist preacher as well. But he really had a sense of what was right. And I sat down with him when he was justice of the peace and walked through the code. And then demonstrated the practice. And he said, Mr. Kelton, I've been a police officer for 20 years. He was a captain on the sheriff's department. And then he was a judge for another 10 or 12 years. Are you telling me that everything that I did for the 20 years as a police officer and as a judge and everything everybody else is doing in Texas is wrong and you're right? I said, don't ask me, Mark. Read the code. I didn't write it. I just read it. This is what it says in very clear black letter law. He could not wrap his head around the fact that everybody's doing everything wrong. He had to believe that I was missing something. Somewhere hidden in the background, there was something that supported what he was doing. And I started out with that perception. And it took a long time to realize, no, this is really wrong. Everything is wrong. I collared the chief of police in Austin, Texas, Acevedo. He was trying to get authorization from the city council for his officers to take blood on the side of the highway. And even his officers weren't happy about that. That's incredible risk. So I collared him with a mic when he was coming in the door. We did a live show from there. And asked him why he needed his officers to have that authority. He said, well, so he get a higher conviction rate. I said, wow, that's interesting. So what's your conviction rate now? I said, well, I don't know. I said, well, how about a guess? He said, well, 70, 80%. Oh, no, a lot higher than that. Well, I'm not sure how high. We'll try maybe 90, well, maybe 95, 97, 99.6. He said, no. I have my statistician here. And he called this guy over and asked him. And the guy hemmed and hawed and shuffled his feet and looked at the ground. I finally got him to admit 99.6. If you live in the United States of America and you get accused of a crime, you are going to take a deal. Because every step from arrest to trial has been carefully crafted so as to put you in a position to where you have no reasonable option but to take a deal. This is the worst police state the world has ever seen, and I think we can fix it. I didn't really think we could when I started, but as this tool came together, I think we can fix it, and I think we can fix it quickly. Consider.
I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to help you help them critique their own process.
Well, if you can help, this is what I'm looking for. We can't get a lawyer to do this. A lawyer lives in a lawyer box. And there are things he cannot do. There are places he can't go. There are things he can't even think about. So when I try to talk to a lawyer, I get nowhere. I'm amazed at how limited lawyers' understanding of the law is.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And I think I've kind of figured out how it got this way, and it's not the way you would expect. It takes a while, and these realizations come to you that things are not the way you think they are. I think we got this way because of technology. And I'm about to go to break. I'll explain what I mean by that. LexisNexis and Westlaw is what created this mess. And I'll explain why when we come back on the other side. This is Randy Kelton, Rule of Law Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but we'll be right back.